This is Jax, and Jax is a little bit protective. He's reactive on walks to some people and bigger dogs, especially white dogs. And I've really throughout the session, I've kind of identified that I think he thinks he needs to protect or be possessive of his female guardian. And so this is a focus exercise. This is designed to get your dog to be able to redirect their attention away from somebody on the street or wherever it is and look up at the human on command. Now when I do this, I start off with about 10 to 15 treats on my offhand. I'm a right-handed person. I'm going to hold it between my thumb and forefinger like this. I want to make my hands look uniform. I'm putting the dog sitting in front of me with my knees shoulder-width apart. I'm going to make my hands look uniform, putting them on my knees. I'm watching his eyes. I'm waiting for him to look at me in the face, focus. And as soon as he looks up at me, then I start moving the treat. 1 second, focus. And I say focus after the treat goes into his mouth. Focus. Imagine there's a tunnel of vision here, so once I raise it up into the tunnel, I keep it in the tunnel, and I can see his eyes, focus, and the treat at the same time. Now I'm going to do this for all 10 or 12 treats, and as you're seeing, he's looking up right away. Focus. Now, when his guardian was doing it, he was licking her hand and trying to nudge and take it. That's an indication that he doesn't fully respect her as an authority figure I can take from her. When you respect someone, you ask for it. You don't try to take it in the dog world. So what we want to do is we want to practice this. I'm not going to go through the rest of this because his guardian's going to practice a little bit more. I'll do a little bit as we're going. But eventually, you're in 1 second, 2 seconds, focus. Never hold it at the apex. Don't go like and hold it here because that'll create a longing to come up. So it's 1 second, focus. For all 10 or 12 treats. Next time you do it, you should be doing this 3 times a day at least. Next time you do it, and don't do it 3 in a row, 15 treats, then do it an hour or 2 later. Eventually, when you want to get to the point where it's like 1 second, 2 seconds, focus on the second movement only for all 12 treats. Then you do that 2 or 3 times, and then the next time you go 1 second, 3 seconds on the second movement. Eventually, you want to get to the point where you're like this. Focus. Now, I do this for a living, and I'm able to achieve that because we did a lot, and I have a really good technique. Don't jump too far too fast. That's the biggest mistake most people make is they try to go from 5 to 10 to 15. The idea is you want to go so progressively, he's just like, I just stare at the human, and eventually they give me the treat. Now, when we do this, right now, the room is quiet. There's no distractions. There's no TV on. There's no other dogs. There's no construction. And that's the environment we want to start off. We want to keep on practicing this until you can get it to 20 seconds in a quiet environment. Now, don't just do it here. Do it at the piano. Do it in the chair and the couch. Do it on the stairs. Do it in the kitchen. Dogs don't generalize well. The more areas that you do it, the better. But again, the key is it's got to be quiet and relaxed at first. Once you can do the point where you're anywhere in your house and he'll look up at you for 20 seconds, then we want to actually do it with maybe a dog on TV, but at the volume at maybe volume 3. So he can hear it, but it's just so subtle. And then each time we do it, we start practicing and turning the volume up a little bit more, a little bit more. We're going to add in distractions, whatever it is that he's reactive to. Skateboard, the sound of a skateboard, or a skateboard being rolling around. So the idea is we want to gradually work him up to the 20 seconds while distractions are going on. So maybe we do it when we have a dog barking outside and we have the door open because we're in Santa Monica and it's beautiful year round. We want to get to the point where he can filter out those distractions and still focus on you. Now, once he can do it anywhere inside the house for 20 seconds, for 5 of these in a row, and he's pretty much just staring at you. And if he's just staring at you the whole time, because what I do is I wait for the dog to look up at me. Now, if he's staring at me like he is now, I might go like this, focus. So you can kind of get him reset. Once you can do it anywhere in the house inside for 20 seconds, the next step is to go outside. Do it in your backyard. And again, do it preferably without a lot of dogs barking at first. Now, when you start doing these other additional steps outside, you can move faster. Maybe the first time you do 1 second, 1 second for all 12 treats, then later that day you go 1 second, 2 seconds. Or you can jump it up based on how the dog is performing. But because the dog has already learned the behavior, they should be able to move a little bit faster. The idea is now to practice it outside, again, sitting down and get it back into 20 seconds with all the distractions of the sights and sounds, hearing the ocean and everything else. Once we get to the point where you can do 20 seconds here, I would do 20 seconds in the front of your house. We have kind of a busy street that the house is on, but there is some shrubberies and there's a little area. But there's going to be more distractions than here. So it's going to be harder. So again, we're going to go back there and practice in the front of the house, go back to 1 second, 1 second. but this time we'll move a little bit faster. This one might go 1 second for 3 treats, and then 1 second, 2 seconds for the 3 treats. So you move faster and faster based on his rate. Once you get to the point where anywhere, inside, outside, the front of the house, back of the house, you can say focus, and he just stops what he's doing and snaps and looks at you. The next step is you want to practice this when you're on a walk. Now, when we're on a walk, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do it while we're moving. Now, first, when you do this on the walk, we want to make it, again, easy. So we're not going to do it when there's other dogs or people around that he's going to react to. So try to find a time of the day where it's going to be easy and you're not going to run into a lot of distractions. Which side do you walk him on, your right side or your left side?
Left.
Okay, let's practice this a little bit, buddy. Come here. So as we're walking, focus. 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 Now at this point, we're not stopping, we're not static, we're not sitting in place, we're walking. Now first it's just 1 second, as soon as you say focus, you start looking, going down to him. It'll take about 2 seconds or so to give him the treats at first. After a while, start going to 3 seconds and 4 seconds. And again, you're only doing this when there's nobody around. If you do it when people are around, then he's going to have a stronger desire to react to that than the treat. If we go slow and steady and we establish a behavior pattern through a lot of repetition, then eventually stay focused. Even if there's another dog, he will look up at you. So the idea is to continue doing this until you can get him to focus. Anytime you say focus, he just looks up and he's taking several steps without looking at you. Once you have established and shaped the behavior at this point, the next step is when you, let's say you're walking down wherever we're at, Santa Monica, and there's another dog across the street. Not a street like Lincoln, but a little side street. And that dog's walking towards you. Now, the other dog's behavior is going to impact your dog's behavior. If the other dog is barking and pulling at the leash and jumping all over, he's going to be more reactive at a greater distance. If the dog's walking at a heel and it's quiet, the dog will be able to get a lot closer before he starts reacting. But as soon as he starts getting stiff, he breathes heavy. You see his hackles, the hair on his back stands up, his tail goes straight up, his ears come forward, he lowers his head, he growls. Those are all, we're looking for a combination of a couple of those signs. And also your gut, the guardian's good at understanding when he's feeling like that. So as soon as he starts to feel like that way, or preferably before, you want to give him the focus command. Dogs can only focus on one thing at a time. So if you've trained him to look up at you by the face and then you're going like this with a treat, if you get to 20 seconds, when that dog is walking towards you, you say focus, you're going like 1, 2, 3. Well, he's looking up at the treat, he's not looking at the other dog. So once the other dog passes you, you pop the treat in his mouth and he's like, all right, now I'm going to yell at the dog. Oh, and it's walking away. That's what I want. I want it to walk away. That's why I bark at other dogs and jump up on people. I want them to leave us alone. I'm trying to defend us. So what we're doing is when the dog is approaching, we redirect his attention towards us and provide him with a positive. Once the dog is done with the positive and he turns to yell at the other dog or person, the other person or dog is walking away. So he has no need to do that. That's what he wants. There's no reward during the stage that he wants. We're only rewarding the stage that he doesn't want, which is people approaching us.
So what if he does bark?
If he does bark, then you want to increase the distance. So walk around a car, walk around a shrub, turn around and walk the other way. Something else that the person who came up with this technique taught me was also to practice something as a plan B. Because you never know. There might be a dog that comes off leash up to you, or just runs out of its yard, or comes around a corner and you're caught off guard. So if I'm walking him on my left, and I'll do this without the dog, so if I'm walking down the left and there's nobody around us, every once in a while, whenever I turn, I always turn away from the dog. So I keep the dog on my outside. Actually, I'll do it this way. So if the dog's over here and I'm walking this way, every once in a while, for no reason, I just say, I kind of go like this and I hold the treat here. Now the dog's here, he's going to turn his head and see it. I'm going to get him to come around and put it in his mouth, and then I say the word turn. Then I'm going to turn and walk 2 or 3 steps this way, and I'm going to repeat the process, turn, and then walk that way. So you're basically doing a little oval.
Okay, because he knows the command this way, that way. This way.
Well, the idea, this way, that way is great, but what we want him to do is just every once in a while, the human just likes to do this oval, and if I turn, I get a treat. Now the key is you want to practice it when there are no dogs around, right. So if you do get accosted by a dog that runs out of nowhere, then you just turn, and sometimes you'll be able to turn before he even sees that other dog, or even if he sees it, he's used to turning like that, and so it's easy for him to do it. So the more that we practice this, like I said, this is an exercise where we have to go in slow steps, practice over and over and over again. Now, if you get to the point where you're like 7 seconds, he starts looking away, then back up to 6 seconds, and keep on practicing at 6 seconds. Usually we want what we call 5 for 5. 5 times in a row, the dog will look straight up at you for whatever that length of time before I go to from 5 to 6 seconds or 6 to 7 or whatever it is, and go 1 second at a time. Don't go from 5 to 10. Now there is another technique that we could add to this if he continues being reactive. I think a lot of his reactivity, because he thinks that he needs to protect his guardian. He doesn't realize his guardian is very ferocious and able to take care of herself. The more that she practices enforcing the rules in the house, the less reactive he's going to be outside, and the more effective this redirecting focus exercise will be. Right now, we're going to have to see how this goes, and we'll play it by ear. If it's not enough, we might need to come back and do another session where we refocus on this or add additional steps to it. But right now, we're going to summarize this as this is how you can teach your dog to focus.